time. Like, I'm a young mother, I don't know what I'm talking about. Why am I still here? Like, oh, this little girl keeps coming back. And so I think those things really frame and make me really good at what I do. Because I think I never assume something. I always try to speak to people and to the best of my ability in a way that I feel like they'll tell me what they think is going on and I can make a decision. And that's, I think, one of the reasons I really love the wraparound model is because it now teaches me to teach a bunch of people that same thing. And I feel like I really get an opportunity with that. But I think all of that being said, that language and what you choose to say to a family is so, so important. How you choose to approach them with everything you say, things that you don't even know. Because I remember when I was that age and I was pregnant again and then pregnant again, when I would go to get an x-ray or like take the kids for an x-ray and they'd say, are you pregnant? And I'd be like, what? You're just assuming that I'm just going to get pregnant, huh? Because I'm a teen mother, because I have 2 kids. And then it was like, no, we ask everybody that question. And I was like, oh, I'm just saying. If that's what you meant. But I think I walked around with that chip on my shoulder. I think I still work on it all the time. I think that it's something that I learned, but I think, and even when I go into a household, I think initially, moms always judge me. Like, what would she know about this? Like, what would she think she could come in here and tell me about being a mother and being a, she drives around in her car all fast with loud music and walking around in 4-inch heels in the hood. Like, is she kidding me? And I have to, and then once I've been in for a while, they're like, wow, like you're the daughter of an alcoholic. You had a father who was in jail till you were 7. You've had 3 kids before 24. Like, there's not a lot you can tell me that I don't know, that I would be surprised about. I've probably lived it. And so I think that just, being appropriately transparent and sharing what I can to make relationship has been, priceless for me. And just approaching all families with respect, even when things are crazy in the household. And I walk in like I don't even notice. Like, yeah, is that crazy? That's not even crazy. You don't even know if I can share crazy. You don't know last night. But I think that just the approach is so important. The language is so important. The things we choose to say are so important. And I even see now how hard it is for me as his mom to approach a 19-year-old. And somebody said to me he has this little 12-week job at Artists for Humanity, and he's loving it and excelling at it. And one of my best friends was like, why don't you go in there and talk to him and see if they'll give him a job? And I said, because I think if I touch it, he'll learn from it. Yeah. I think if I go in that door and have something to say or something to share, it'll taint it for him. I have to allow it to be his. He navigated it on his own. He went to the interview. He is doing the artwork. He's doing all of the stuff on his own. And I think that if I walk in and they're like, oh, your mother's so great, she's so funny, and I'm going to refer 3 families to her, and he'll be like, all right, I'm done with this place. So I think that as we think about, how much we really are going to stick our hands in their life or give young people the opportunity to navigate, I think it's really about the information we choose to give them. So I just throw everything at them and see what sticks. I mean, at this point, I'm like 19 at this point, so I'm just going to really focus on myself. I'm going to make sure you have transportation. Here's a bus pass or a bus and train. Like, how can I help you do that? He loses it half the time still. 19 days into the month, I'm like, do you know that thing cost me $60? And he's like, I know, Mom, don't worry, it's never going to happen again. And I've been listening to that since he was 12. Nothing's ever going to happen again. And I'm always like, I know, nothing, I know, this is going to be great. It's true. So, I don't know, that's my story, that's my spiel, that's my information about what I feel it means to be, to consider people's cultural competence, because I think people say things to me all the day assuming lots of things. At this point now, having grown past that, a lot of people think my daughter is my sister. That's a little offensive to me. Like, she's taller than me, she's fabulous, and that's great. But I'm like, that is my child. Don't get it twisted. I'm not the kind of mom that's gonna be like, yes, don't we look just alike? I'm like, she's a child. Even though she's, 5'8". But I think people make different assumptions, like, oh, where did you get your master's? That's a big assumption. I'm like, sure, make me feel bad about it. Like, I work. Work all day. I have 3 kids. Like, I'm a cheer coach. Do you think I have time to go get it? You know what I mean? I think that even those judgments, I think it's just what we do when we do it. We don't mean harm. Nobody meant harm when they came with these questions. It almost made me cry. Like, what do you mean? What do I want for him? That's not. It wasn't meant to be offensive. But I think people mean well, and I think it's really important when we think about this process that we put most things in a question. A lot of things like, well, how does that work for you, or what do you see that looking like, or what would be your first thought of approach, and how might that work or might not work for you? Those are the kinds of things that I try to say to families, and sometimes they're like, could you just tell me what, because I don't know right now. I just need you to not ask me a bunch of questions this time. And then I would probably share, or have shared, well, when this kind of thing happened to me, this was something I tried, and I don't know if that's something you'd be willing to do. And so most of the time they're like, no. So then let's go back to what your idea was. What was that first idea? Let me think of, I think some of the questions that I had thought to put out were, what has your experience been around schools, interventions, legal systems, and services? That's just something, I feel like those are hot spots. Those are areas where a lot of judgment, especially the legal system and the schools, are huge areas where I see family partners having to do a lot of work because they have a job to do. And this whole wraparound process, they're like, you want me to what? Like, I'm not considering that I have a job to do. This is what's going to happen. So that's where I see us spending most of our education time as family partners, really educating the school and the legal system the value of considering the family's options and choices and barriers. When I was a family partner, I remember always trying to share a little information of what I saw mom doing. Because, a lot of times I would go into a school and they would say, she doesn't do anything. She sends the kid in with, dirty clothes and all these things. And it was like, well, considering that she got them up and out of the house, I think she did great today. There's a lot of stuff going on that they could have stayed home, and she's here. So why don't we do the best we can with her through the door? I mean, my son tried to go to mainstream Medford High at one point, and that was a very strict school. Wrong idea. I thought I was trying anything at that point. And one of the women used to always say to him, like when he came in, you're not going to start any trouble today. Like, you better not have anything. You better stay out of it. Mind you, he's putting baby oil on people's combination locks, so they're just flipping. Thanks. Come on, that was great. I'm going to film these out there like, so your son was caught on camera in the hallway putting baby oil on people's combination locks. Nobody can get their locker open. It's like, nice. And somebody who was with me, an ICC, I think, said to me, you're going to think this is hilarious in like 5 years. And I'm like, right now? I'm But anything he can do to avoid, anything he can do. It's not really that action that's crazy to me. It's just still at 18 at this point avoiding having to be in a set place where people can talk to him and try to get something out of him. And they're like, well, really, well? But I remember I said to that lady, listen, if I get him up and out the door and on the bus and in this building, I don't want you to say anything to him. Like, don't even look his direction. And she ran that place. So she was like, is this little girl's crazy? But she really did. I could tell the way she was looking at me, but she didn't mess with him anymore. I was almost in tears, like, if I get him out and he actually comes here to this building, I don't want you to say anything. Yeah. I just want you to, I don't care if he doesn't do anything when he's here. The fact that I got him up and out of the house and here is a huge thing to me. And hopefully once he gets in the hang of that, he'll actually try to open a book and read something. But right now, the fact that I've gotten him here is half my battle. And I think sharing that with them, instead of them thinking like, I don't care how my son acts, so that's something that I always push mothers and fathers and caregivers to do, like share what your steps are. If that's the big deal and they understand that, at least they understand some part of it. I think that we don't mean to pass judgment. It's just part of our nature. We don't mean to think that the mom doesn't care, but if the kids come to school a hot mess, you're like, clearly you saw your child leave the house. But what does that mean about what's at the house? What does that mean about where the youth is coming from? So those are the things that I can share. Anybody have any questions?
Hi. Yeah, no, so you talked about self-disclosure and really being effective with engagement. And I'm wondering now that your son is 19 and a transitional age to youth or young adult, who would be the right person to do that engagement self-disclosure piece? Because the family partner, the way the structure is the family partner partners with the caregiver. So I wondered if you had any, from the family perspective.
So one of the things that I've tried, and I've been trying, is that he's now 18 and he can apply for Mass Health on his own. And that maybe that would allow him to get a CSP of his own. That was my hope. I talked to him a little bit about it, just told him to research it, gave him some information. He hasn't followed through. He did go to Mass Health, because one of the things that we do is every morning we bite off like a little piece. Like, what are the 3 things you're going to do today? And then if I come home and he did any one of them, I have had a wonderful day. I'm like, you went to Mass Health? Shut up! Like, I cannot believe you went. I'm so happy. Of course, Mass Health gave him all this crazy information, told him why he didn't qualify. I was like, what did they say? But I try not to go. I try to push him to go. That was my initial hope for him. I think really, coming from the information that I have, I try to push other people in our community towards him. So I have an older brother. My dad, I'll say, just call him and just see, like, what are you doing? Oh, really? How's that working for? Because it doesn't seem like I sent them. I know that it's me or his father. The minute he sees the number on the caller ID, he's like, oh God, here's something.